Today we're going to learn some Micron pen techniques. So we have 3 Micron pens. We have our 05, which is the biggest tip. Then we have our 03, which is medium. And then you can see we have our 01, which is our smallest. These are what come in our 3-pack set, but there is an 08, which is even bigger, and there's an 005, which is even smaller that I have that you could borrow. They also make Micron pens in various colors, like red, green, and sepia. So if you really like Micron pens, there's more options out there for you. I'm gonna go ahead and use my 05 for this, just because my 01 is a little small, and we have to be careful with that tip so we don't bend or damage it easier. The first technique we're going to learn is called hatching. And hatching is where you make lots of little lines. So this is a great technique for shading animals, anything with fur, anything with grass. There's a few key components to hatching though. First, we don't want to get lazy when we do hatching, because when we get lazy, we tend to go like this and make little check marks or hooks rather than straight lines. We also don't want to work in even rows, because if I continued this and we worked in even rows, you can see I'm getting this darker stripe right here where my rows overlap. So when we're hatching, what we want to do is we want to stagger our lines so that they all start at a different spacing. So in order to make fur darker, we do more lines that are closer together. We also want to use a thicker pen, such as the 05, and then we can transition to the 03 and do less lines that are even farther apart, and then transition to the 01 and do even less lines that are further apart. So that's how we get a gradation that's going from dark to light, and we can make different shades. The next technique is cross hatching. So if our hatching lines are like this, cross hatching means we go this way. And this is typically used on top of hatching to create more of a shadow. The next technique is contour lines. And that's where we want to follow the shape of an object. So if we were going to draw a sphere and we were going to shade it doing hatching, or even some cross hatching, you can see it still looks very flat like a circle. But if we used contour lines, that means we're following the shape of the object. So I want to curve my lines going this way, I get straighter towards the middle, then curve my lines going the opposite direction. And then for my hatching lines, I'm going to curve them as well. Straighten out towards the middle, and then start to curve my lines. You can see this one's starting to look a lot more round and 3D. So when we're doing lips, for example, if there's wrinkles in the lips, we want to follow the contours of the lips. And this will help make all of our facial features look more 3D. The next technique is stippling. And stippling is little dots. So kind of like the hatching too, we want to make sure we don't get lazy when we're stippling or when we do it too fast. we start to have little tails, and instead of dots, we get little tadpoles. So you want to just make sure you're going straight up and down when you're stippling. If we were going to do a gradation, we can actually start with our 05 or 08. We can color a little piece that's solid, and then we can start to really stipple lots of dots overlapping each other very close together. I can slowly get farther and farther apart with my dots. Then I'm going to switch pens. I'm going to move to an 03. I'm going to start by overlapping, filling in a few of the little gaps from when I was using my 05. And then I can start to do less and less dots farther and farther apart. And then I'm going to switch to my 01. Again, start overlapping where I left off with my 03. And then again, less and less dots farther and farther apart. So we get a gradation that goes from black to dark gray to medium gray to a white. And then we have scribbles. And it's just like it sounds, but we can scribble more, overlap it where we want it darker, have less scribble lines as we want to fade it farther apart. So this is actually really good if you're doing bushes that are in the distance. They don't have as much detail, so we could do scribble lines here. Or if you have frizzier hair that you're drawing, or fur, any sort of smoke, or just to give it a more illustrative effect, scribbles work great as well. So a lot of times we want to use different techniques in the same piece. So let's say I was drawing a dog, which, by the way, pets or animals are one of the easier things to do if you've never used Micron pens before. So I would highly recommend doing an animal, and most people like doing their pets. But we would want to use hatching for the fur. Anywhere where there's a really intense shadow, we could do cross hatching. The nose is a different texture, so we would probably want to do stippling on the nose to make that look smoother. So if you use different techniques on different parts and different areas, we can get different textures to make them stand out well. Micron pens are also waterproof, so you can do a whole Micron pen drawing first, and then you can watercolor over it or do ink washes over it. So if there's even a chance that you want to do your project with watercolor, make sure you do your final draft on watercolor paper. If you know you just want to keep it simple and black and white, you can do it on a sheet of cardstock. And if you want to add color later, you could always go over your Micron pen drawings with some colored pencil or soft pastel. So you can really make this project mixed media. For this project, I'm looking for a ton of detail. I want lots of shading, lots of texture, lots of little lines. It should not be a simple outline. For example, you shouldn't just draw cartoon characters and have a simple outline. I want lots of shading and detail with these Micron pen techniques.